worked. Oh, I didn't. Oh, there it goes. All right. So, as fate would have it, a time was had. A time was indeed had. Let me fix this real quick, boys. Mm, 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 mm. There we go. All right. So the Jazz ended up having an interesting one. Uh, it was a game, for lack of better phrasing. I just wanted to get live real quick and chop it up, have a little conversation real quick before I continued to work on breaking down some tape and doing some other stuff. But you know, they ended up dropping this one against the Charlotte Hornets. Not a bad game to drop. Just happens. It happens to everybody. It was 105 to 111 overall. I did want to jump over here. Let me shrink myself down. I think that's small enough. Yeah. All right. I like looking at everybody's shot charts every now and then. The Jazz obviously didn't end up leading a lot in this one, unfortunately. Biggest lead of three. Hornets kind of controlled this one all the way through. Longest run, 9 points. Lead changes, only six. Surprisingly low. But again, it's Summer League, so it's not something that you should be super concerned about if you're into that. Rebound battle about the same. Assists about the same. Steals, blocks about the same. Turnovers about the same. Dang, I knew we were giving up a high shooting percentage, but I was not expecting 50.6. That's kind of over the top, but 3 point defense was on point. Free throws about the same both ways, split it. Mm, no Bryce Sensabaugh, no Ace Bailey today, which I found to be slightly interesting. Not too problematic, but just something of note. Elijah Harkless started in his place, so you know, definitely not something that I would have ordered, but it was on the menu regardless, so you got to deal with that one. Uh, he was 1 of 6, 0 of 4 from 3 point range, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 2 boards, 2 assists, 4 steals, surprisingly enough. Only one turnover, though, and 6 personal fouls. I keep getting tripped up every time I see Summer League stats because I forget that you can obviously watch, or you can obviously stay on the court if you foul out, technically, in other games. So 6 personal fouls for him, 8 for Kyle Filipowski running the 5 spot. Walter Clayton Jr. with 6. But overall, pretty solid performances from the people that needed to have solid performances. We saw, obviously, Walter Clayton Jr., 47% from the field, 8 of 17, 4 of 10 from 3. That's what we want to see. 1 of 2 from the free throw line, 6 boards, 3 assists, only 2 turnovers. Lovely. Kyle Filipowski, 12 of 17. The efficiency was chef's kiss gorgeous. 70%, 3 of 7 from 3 point range, 5 of 8 from the free throw line. Would love for if you could hit one more of those, but I'm not complaining because that 3 of 7 is nice, and that 12 of 17 overall is gorgeous. 6 boards, 5 assists, only 2 turnovers. He did have a block, and obviously 8 personal fouls. So, do you want him playing the 5 spot at any point for significant minutes during the regular season? No, I would say absolutely not. But there is always going to be that opportune time where it unfortunately does happen. So you need to be ready for that. And while it may not be for long stretches of the game, I do anticipate that it would be a potential occurrence more than probably like four. It probably fall in the range of like 4 to 8 minutes a game in the games that it actually does happen in. I should hope that it doesn't happen in too many of them, but you never really know. And since we're anticipated to be, doing a lot of tanking this year, there's going to be a lot of interesting dynamics that go on there. Um, where was I? Now, that said, 32 points. Heavenly. Heavenly. He saw what Bryce Sensabaugh did. He said, brother, I've been pretty efficient myself, but I like to take it to that next level. And he did. Box score plus minus was also the second highest on the team with a positive 5, which is really telling considering he played just about 30 minutes. Elijah Harkless had the highest, surprisingly enough, uh, by literally 1 second on the time that he was on the floor. But he also had a box score plus minus of a +7. So, gotta appreciate that. The bench unit was where things got a little bit risky, but before we jump to them, we have to talk about Isaiah Collier. Obviously, that 6 of 10 from the field was what we needed to see. That 2 of 3 from 3, even though it's a very small sample size, was exactly what we needed to see. Then you look forward and you see the fact that he had 6 boards, 2 of them being offensive. He had 9 assists, 2 steals. He did have 6 turnovers. We knew he was turnover prone before, but it's kind of like a give and take thing with him. And then obviously only 3 personal fouls. He did have 16 points, so 16, 6, and 9, 2 steals, kind of even, kind of makes me feel more comfortable about the 6 turnovers that he did have, but you just kind of got to go with it. The bench unit though is where things get a little bit rough. You have Max Abmas 1 of 6. You have Jaden Springer 0 of 2. They were collectively 0 of 3 from beyond the arc as the bench unit. Nobody else shot one. You had Adama Sonogo and Dane Goodwin. Goodwin literally, wow. I didn't peep that. I saw him on the court, but in my head, it didn't register that he potentially could have no stats whatsoever. But yeah, Dane Goodwin, 9 minutes, no shot attempts, no boards, no assists, no steals, no blocks, no turnovers, no personal fouls. The only thing he had was a box score plus minus, which was a -9. Sonogo was an interesting case. I hope that we get to see more minutes of him going forward, just a little bit, because I like to see more testable things. 3 or 4 from the field, obviously 2 or 2 from the free throw line, 8 boards, 3 of them being offensive. He had 3 assists, 1 block, only 1 personal foul, and 0 turnovers, which was nice. 8 total points. His box score plus minus was the second lowest on the team, unfortunately, at a -11. But his individual performance wasn't bad to me per se. Abmas, obviously, 1 of 6 from the field is rough. In 16 minutes at that, 2 steals. He didn't have any rebounds, any assists, any blocks. He did have 1 turnover and 3 personal fouls in 16 minutes, which was interesting, and a box score plus minus of a -5. So all 4, in theory, if we ran the starters a little bit longer, we would have won this game. But because we mixed in a little bit more of the, shall we say, or the more opportunistic players, since we played them for more minutes, that made a difference. We also, did we go 10 down? No, we only went 9 players down. I was about to say this was the deepest we ever went into the bench so far this season. Not the case, ironically enough. He said, wasn't a fan of a Moss game, reminded me of Jordan Clarkson a bit. You would be correct. The only reason it kind of, I was about to be polite, and then I was like, yeah, never mind. It was a lot of give and take. A lot of these bench guys, this is going to be their time to shine and show that they're deserving of minutes at all, because for the most part, you're not going to see too many situations that allow for them to have minutes to actually like play come regular season time. And this is going to be their opportunity to prove like, hey, I belong even with the G League team, or I belong on a healthy 2-way contract. Like I'm deserving of that. I'm deserving of a certain amount of minutes or a certain type of opportunity that hasn't really been afforded or hasn't really been given out like that, but I'm a worthy candidate potentially. There just haven't been too many of those effective performances. Jaden Springer, somebody that I will always try to root for, but so far this summer league, he hasn't really given us much to root for, particularly in the scoring department. Defensively, he's not a liability, despite being just 6'4". And then he usually fills up, rebounds, assists, steals every now and then. He's not turnover prone because he just doesn't take a lot of shots and the ball doesn't spend a lot of time in his hands. But when you don't put any points on the board or shoot pretty well from the field in the process, you kind of fall as an afterthought. So when you talk about guys that are on the chopping block, this entire bench unit that came in today is looking like it. He said, Walt looked really good tonight, though. I thought Harkless looked pretty solid too. A lot more control than the games in SLC. As much as I love cooking on Elijah Harkless, he wasn't as out of control. I will agree with you on that one. He just, even though the shot chart looks pretty bad, right? That 106 0 4 from 3 looks pretty bad. He played his role pretty well offensively, even though the shots didn't fall. And like I called before, 2 boards, 2 assists, 4 steals. He led the team with that. And he only had 1 turnover. So that, combined with the fact that he did have the highest box score plus minus, leads you to believe that either he is a plus defender or was a plus defender today overall, or the players around him just overcompensated for his lack of ability on that side of the ball. And I don't think everybody overcompensated, at the very least the starters, because obviously the only starter that had a negative box score plus minus was was Isaiah Collier. But I feel like on that side of the ball, he was effective enough, and offensively, even though the shot wasn't falling, he wasn't conceding points that made him a net negative on the floor. Hence why he managed to have that positive box score plus minus +7. Um, I do enjoy his energy. I will say that. I don't know where his fit is going to be on the Jazz going forward, particularly once the season actually starts, especially around preseason. I think we'll start getting a better feel for what guys are going to be doing or what opportunities are going to be available, because obviously you're going to be toying around with a lot more of the players that actually matters minutes. But until we have a guarantee, it's going to be interesting to see how things go. I'll put it that way. You said, oh, I forgot about the Walt part. Him looking really good. 8 of 17 from the field was really nice. When you take into account that he was what, if he was 4 of 10 from 3 point range, that means he was 4 of 7 from inside the 3 point line. So yeah, solid shooting on both sides, both inside and outside scoring. That 4 of 10, definitely, I needed to see that. It's nice to see that. It's a good confidence booster. I know he can shoot, but just watching him go out there and really put that on the floor is pretty positive across the scheme. That, combined with the fact that obviously he found his way into 6 defensive rebounds, which was a little bit interesting. 3 assists. The only reason I would say he probably didn't have more assists is because he spent most of the time on the court with Isaiah Collier, who is the de facto point guard. And while he is turnover prone, I would like to think that as we get closer to the season and as the season gets underway, we kind of cut down on those. I don't think he's going to have a six. I'm lying. He probably will have a 6 turnover game in the regular season, but I don't think it'll be like a massive, blown out of proportions type of one. At least I hope so. I hope not. He said Springer was fine. He's definitely an end of the bench guy though. Understandable. Do you know when Ace will play again? Honestly, I'm not sure. I didn't see beforehand if it was. I don't think it was an injury thing. And I was trying to find something while I was watching the game because it didn't occur to me at first that he was supposed to be on the foot. Then I was like, wait a minute, he's literally not in the game. Why am I watching this game? And then because I was caught up in on Walter Clayton and Kyle Filipowski. So I don't know if it's a thing of them sitting him for the rest of the summer league, because that's potentially possible because he is just the high draft pick that he is. But at the same time, I don't think that's the case. Maybe they just sat him for this one game. Honestly, I feel like he didn't do enough quite yet to be at the Bryce Sensabaugh standard. We're like, okay, you've played enough. You've played too good. In fact, we know what you are, and we have a mental picture of what you can do for us during the season. Go sit on the bench for now. We don't need to risk injury. I need you in the regular season where I can see you play meaningful minutes. I just realized just now that I completely glossed over Cody Williams' numbers. He wasn't bad today. He wasn't great, but he wasn't. Obviously, you can tell that he wasn't passive because he shot 19 shot attempts, right? 8 of 19, not terrific, but also not horrid, right? Not on par with Jordan Clarkson numbers from last year. That 3 of 11 from 3 was kind of but he has the opportunity to get those up, so he's going to shoot those. 2 of 2 from the free throw line, 3 boards, 1 assist, 1 steal, total of 21 points. You can see that him and Walter Clayton Jr. were just a couple shot attempts away from being basically the same shooting from the field. But I'm keeping an eye on Cody Williams because I'm hoping that there's a substantial uptick. You said with a hip flexor injury. Okay, thank you. Depending on how severe it is, he could recover within the week. But depending on again, the severity of it. If it's something where it's like he tweets it and they just don't want to play with it, completely understandable. You'll probably see him next game. If it's a little bit more serious, then they're going to say, let's just table you for now. If you're not 100% by the end of summer league, we don't care. We're not super invested on summer league ball. But I think if he is healthy enough, probably in the next week at worst, I don't think that it would be a terrible thing because I would have seen it pop up a lot faster. Um, if it's really bad, we probably won't see him till the regular season. But I don't think it's really that bad. I can't imagine that it is, honestly. Well, Harkless replacement looks like a Moss, so probably expense plus. Yeah, yeah, that'll do it. Yeah, that'll do it. The rebounding numbers were a little bit weird all around this game. Yeah. I think it kind of goes over my head because I wasn't paying attention to like who was the low man or who was the close to the rim at times. In my head, it was just like watching what shot the offense ends up getting, how we defend it, how we defend their actions, who plays really hard on ball defense, who plays really hard on off ball defense, who's a good help defender, who's a negative help defender, who just seems to be completely just disjoint and just blah on the defense side of the ball. And then, okay, when we contest it, how good was the contest and did the shot go in? My brain, whenever Walker Kessler, I guess, isn't on the floor, my brain doesn't say, oh, who grabbed that board? Not because I like put parlays on Walker Kessler rebounding or anything, but just because I like watching Walker Kessler rebound. And for me, last year, it was a big point of emphasis to pay attention to what he does when it comes to rebounding numbers. So seeing like Kyle Filipowski with 6 boards, not surprising. Clayton Jr. was the most surprising one. Isaiah Collier, sometimes I see him hunting the glass, so it makes sense. Not in the same way, I guess, that Westbrook did back when he was on the Thunder, when he had Steven Adams kind of block out and then he would dive down for a board. I didn't really see that per se, but he just always seems to find himself down there so he can grab the ball, so he can get his paws on it. So that didn't really surprise me. Let's see. Harkless, Williams, not too crazy. Springer, Sonogo. Yeah, so I guess Walter Clayton Jr. was the biggest one that I was just like kind of taken aback by that, I suppose. You said Williams Duck was nice. Glad to see him challenging players at the rim. Yeah, I'm interested. I would like to see if somebody knows what his weight is or where he's weighing in at currently right now, because he doesn't look as wiry as last year. He's still wiry, but not as wiry, if that makes sense. So I'd like to believe that he's kind of put on a little bit more weight, not nearly enough as he needs to, but it's definitely a step in the right direction. So because of that, I'd like to believe that this season we're going to see a lot more of him probably in the regular season games for the Jazz as opposed to spending most of his time in the G League like he ultimately probably had to because of his size last year, and he was just getting exploited crazy. Speaking of defense, Flip has looked a lot better defensively since the first SL game against Bona. I like how good he's been looking on the perimeter. Yes, one thing they said 190 is really, because he was 178 at the combine last year. 12 pounds. I can live with that. I can live with that. I'm not mad at that. I'm not mad at that. Um if we could get I think perfect weight for Cody Williams, because he's what, 6'6", 6'7" barefoot. If we could get him up to, I think he's 6'7". If we could get him up to like 220, I don't need him to push. I don't need him to be at 230. It would be nice if he could get up there, but I think his particular game would be more benefited if he has a lighter but still sturdy frame. So probably we could test him at 215. Like by next year, if he could get up to 215, that would be lovely. Um, by the time the regular season starts, if they could get him up to like 197, like borderline pushing 200, I would feel a lot more comfortable with him. And I think it'll be night and day the way he absorbs contact when people drive on him. Because last year, you would see a lot of times where he would really just poke at the ball or play passing lanes really hard or play it like he would stunt really well, but you could tell that he didn't really offer any actual resistance. It's kind of like if somebody had a paper umbrella. Like, yeah, it's an umbrella, but if the rain rains hard enough, the umbrella's just gonna absorb it all and just fall apart and soak through, and then you're getting rained on again. And that was the vibe that I got most of the time watching him last year, because the instincts are there. He just doesn't have the frame to really put into practice a lot of times what it is. Um, but if he's 190, that's definitely obviously a step in the right direction. 12 pounds, need that. If we could get closer to 200 this year, that would be like a godsend opportunity for him. What was I thinking? Oh, for Kyle Filipowski, pick and rolls are going to be interesting to see him navigate this year and going forward as he becomes a better player and as he just gets deeper into the in as the team begins to be competitive, so to speak. Because we find ourselves in a world where, like, obviously being a 5 man, if you can be abused in the pick and roll or you're slow on your feet like a Rudy Gobert, there's going to be a limit to the type of minutes you can have on the court. There's going to be a limit to the situations, just like if you can't shoot at all in late game situations, you can't be on the floor. I would argue that there's going to be an increase in certain types of plays and possessions on the court, especially this season after what we saw the Pacers and the Thunder do going through the playoffs and the switchability and the sheer depth that they had. If you keep getting exposed over a 3 minute period, the coaching staff is going to recognize you can't be on the court at the very least in this particular situation. And if they hunt you and they successfully hunt you and continue doing it, we really they're playing you out of your minutes. And we're going to have to find somebody on the bench that can effectively guard, that can effectively play the passing lanes, who can properly use their IQ to create stops or create advantages for the defense and disadvantages for the defense. Did I say that right? Create advantages for the defense and disadvantages for their offense. There we go. Kyle Filipowski, to me, in pick and roll coverages, I really think that he's going to do well. He was fine before, but I think the year of experience, the year of the off season that he's had, full and complete healthy, I think that combined with his ability to be lighter on his feet, he doesn't have two left feet, doesn't have anything close. Because when I think two left feet, I think, what's his name? I think Rudy Gobert. When I think not two left feet, but still not like Kevin Durant fluid or Bol fluid, I think Walker Kessler. Kyle Filipowski to me has the even better feet than both of them. So in a world where somebody calls for a screen and Kyle gets brought up out on the perimeter, out on either wing, at the top of the key, in the corner, I love that opportunity because I know I can sit comfortably, put my hands behind my head, kick my feet up on the desk, and watch him sit down on that side of the ball. And that's something that you can't really say about most guys that are his height and above because they just don't really successfully hold their ground consistently. Not to say that a lot of them, nah, to be honest, a lot of them can't. That's the bigger issue. I was going to try and be polite and be like, it's not like a lot of them can't. No, a lot of them can't. As much as we would like to say that they can sometimes, a lot of them are unable. Now, obviously, we'll keep talking about his rim defense and hopefully at worst, he's just as bad as he is at the rim protecting the rim in the regular season as he has been in summer league. If this is as bad as it gets, I can live with it. But people in the NBA are more athletic. They're more capable. He's not facing who was running the 5 spot to start the game for the Hornets. Cock and ball torture. My fault. I was thinking about I was thinking about the meme. Yeah, it was a bad meme. Anyways, Ryan had a decent outing. Surprisingly, didn't have more boards than him. That kind of caught me off guard. But yeah, um, while Ryan will likely be probably starting actually for the Hornets at the 5 spot, I can't think of who the 5 would be, because not PJ Washington. His Miles Bridges. Miles Bridges is going to be running the 4. So yeah, Ryan Kalkbrenner technically will be their starting center this year, as far as I know. Um, that said, it's going to be harder. It's going to be harder. There's going to be more athletic guys. There's going to be sturdier guys. There's going to be guys with a deeper bag of post moves than what he's seen in the summer league. And him knowing that, I think that he's going to prepare himself, and hopefully he doesn't end up at the 5 too often right now. But it's going to inevitably happen where there's going to be a substantial amount of minutes where he plays out there. So as long as it doesn't get too wicked down there in the paint, he should be pretty good. He said if Hendricks and Bailey can play help defense for Flip, that could be interesting. Yeah, for sure, for sure, for sure. Kakaro, something like that. Had good defensive instincts, but looked like Gobert on offense. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Honestly, I can't wait for Taylor Hendricks to get back. I'm surprised. It's the only reason I don't have a jersey of his yet is because I'm broke. But best believe there's a I've got a list of like 12 to 15 jerseys I need to get, and this is definitely one of them. I'm looking forward to see how he is, um, and if he overcompensates on his other leg because he's afraid of putting too much pressure on one leg. The 3-on-3 and 5-on-5 drills in practice and the actual scrimmages are going to be very telling, and the articles that the news that we get out of those things. So if they sit there and they say, "Oh, he's progressing well. He's been able to put, a great deal of pressure on. He's been able to lift perfectly fine and all this extra stuff. He's been cleared for the drills. He's been performing well in the drills." Then we're looking really good. And even though we're supposed to be tanking this year, I still want to see a very nice Taylor Hendricks. I want to see Taylor Hendricks that's able to get shots up, that's able to shoot a lot of threes, that's able to put the ball on the deck and get to the rim and put somebody on a poster. Just seeing those positive plays, I think, will end up making me feel more comfortable about his future. And I honestly hope that he's back at 100%. Like, I don't want him to be at 98% because of that injury. I don't want to sit there and say, "Oh, well, we might have missed out on the greatest version of him that we could ever see," because it wasn't like it was an ACL tear. Granted, it was still gruesome and still pretty rough, but it wasn't like a extremely necessary muscle tissue type damage. It wasn't an Achilles. It wasn't anything like that. So I'm confident that things will go pretty well on that side of the ball. Colin Canepo, 3-6 from the free throw line. Oh, 5 from 3. Really? Colin, what happened? Salon. I remember I wanted us to have Salon. I was looking at him last year. 6 of 11 from the field, 2 of 6 from 3, 6 and 9 from the free throw line, 7 boards and assists, 2 steals, 5 personal fouls, 20 points. He was the third leading scorer. KJ Simpson, really? 8 of 15, 4 of 9, 101, 3 boards, 5 assists, 3 steals, 4 turnovers, only 1 foul. Okay. Liam McNeely, 7 of 16, 3 of 6 from 3, 5 of 5 from the free throw line, 12 boards, 6 assists. Hey, that's a whole lot of motion. And then PJ Hall, Damian Baugh, Jalen Sims. Jalen Sims was cutting up. He only got 16 minutes, but darn it, he made the most of it. He said 5 of 6, 3 of 4 from the free throw line, 6 boards, 2 steals, 2 assists, 3 steals, no turnovers. Positive. That box score plus minus is crazy. Wow. 16. Yeah, our low. Never mind. Our lowest was Jaden's. Jaden Springer was negative 18. Oh man. Oh, that made me sad. Sion James. Huh. Interesting. You said Con had a rough shooting night. He looked good. Otherwise, though, was surprised at his turnover numbers. I think he got his pocket picked by Harkless a few times or something. In that situation, yeah, I'm not gonna lie. Elijah Harkless probably won't outplay too many people defensively. He'll present a strong contest, but if Khan had to deal with him, then yeah, that was his little welcome to the summer league moment. Then I will give him that because that boy don't play. Like I said, I love the energy. It doesn't always lead to the best circumstances, but overall, I appreciate the intensity and just the desire that he brings to the game every time that he plays, because that's important. It's very telling of who you are as a character. Um, but yeah, I just wanted to go live for a little minute, talk about the game real quick. Didn't have too much anything. I didn't have any crazy insights to share or anything like that. Um, just wanted to chop it up real quick. It was a loss, but still a few things to glean. Obviously, Kyle Filipowski looking really nice. Um, Isaiah Collier still turnover prone like usual. Walter Clayton Jr. getting this start. Good numbers. Good numbers. The last game I want to say he had some really good numbers too. But yeah, man, I wish Ace could have played. Yeah, it would have been nice to see. It definitely would have been nice to see. I'm ever since, what is it, the second summer league game from Ace Bailey was the one that I really appreciated having the opportunity to watch because it just looked like he deserved, like he knew what he needed to do out there. The first game he looked like he was a little bit shocked. He just needed to get his feet up under him and get aligned. But coming into, you know, the second game, he looked a lot more comfortable. He looked more poised. I think that's what I'm looking for. He looked more poised. And him not being able to play in this one kind of makes me feel some sort of way. But his health is the most important thing to me right now because again, this is summer league, right? We're gonna have preseason matches that he can do stuff in, and then the regular season, he's definitely gonna. There's not gonna be a shortage of minutes there, especially with the changes we made. I mean, do we have a packed out front court? Yes, but some of them I assume are gonna get bought out or traded by the time that comes. And then you have Jordan Clarkson and Colin Sexton got sent off. So Walter Clayton Jr. and Ace Bailey slide right into those spots realistically. Because you're going to have Lowry at the three, most likely, I trust. And Hendricks isn't healthy right now. So maybe you keep one of the bigs on the roster till Hendricks is healthy and then slide them down to the bench. Maybe you keep Kevin Love. Nurkic has no business being here, though, in the most respectful way possible. Use Nurkic as a. I don't see the positive. But, I'm always willing to be proven wrong. And maybe there's an extreme positive to come from it that I just haven't seen yet. You know, anything's possible these days in the NBA. But yeah, that's all I had for you guys. So, with any luck, when is our next summer league game? Do we have a Google Utah Jazz summer league schedule? It's not over yet, is it? Oh, it might. Wait, am I tripping? I am tripping. What happened? All right, here we go. All right, we just played that one. Saturday, we don't play. No. Sunday? Yes. All right, so we play Sunday. 10 o'clock game. Okay. All right. Sunday. Do we play? No, we don't play Monday. We play Tuesday, though, right? No, we don't play Tuesday. So Sunday, our last game? No. Sunday, Wednesday. Sunday, Wednesday. All right. So Sunday and Wednesday, we have games this week. All right. Against the Golden State Warriors and the Washington Wizards. I'm interested to see the Wizards one because they have a pretty steady crop of young guys. And if they do have Alex Sarr and them playing, then it should really get really interesting. But we'll see. We'll see. It's nice to chat about. It's nice to chat about the young guys. Most of people I chat ball with are fair weather fans, so they aren't paying attention right now. Completely understandable. Last year it put me in purgatory. trying to watch those games and say, you know what? It was like the meme where the house is on fire and the dog sitting there saying, "I'm fine." That was me watching the games last year because I was looking for the silver lining. It was hard to find, but we had a couple spots. But yeah, we got Sunday and Wednesday. I might compile all my summer league findings and do like a 30-minute just chat like I do on my usual videos. Yeah, the last year was. I was about to say I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy. I definitely would. I hate when people say that. I would definitely wish this on. What team would I wish this on? Well, I can't say that about the Celtics. What's his name just tore his Achilles. I don't know. A team's not coming to my mind off the top of my head, but you know, a rough season. There's a couple of teams that I wish would have a rough season, but you know, this year probably won't be like even at our lowest this year. I don't think it'll be as rough watching it as last year. I think we can act because this year the Lakers they just got DeAndre Ayton. I'm interested to see if DeAndre Ayton actually steps up in his standard of play or if he tries to continue to be his little temperamental self. Because if he stays trying to be temperamental, the LA media is gonna eat him up. Oh my goodness. But if he manages to stay the course and he steps out of his body, we may actually see the guy that was supposed to be picked over Luca. Of course, he's not better than Luca, but I would like to believe. I'll put it this way: this is going to be the last year that any team gives him the opportunity to be the player he thinks he should be. If you can't perform on the Lakers with LeBron and Luca, two of the most gifted passers the NBA has ever seen, you have two of them, not one. You have two. If you can't be efficient on the floor and you can't hold down the paint on defense, the storylines are going to be lovely. I'm going to be dying laughing because he's going to be out of a job. He's going to be out of it. He won't have anything left. There's not going to be any team that wants to take him on because then you can't trust him on offense. He was already questionable on defense because of effort. That's the worst thing possible. It's not that he's a bad player, right? It's not like he's Clint Capella, and Clint Capella's not terrible, but he's less than serviceable, right? He's not Clint Capella. So him playing worse than Clint Capella or at Clint Capella's level is crazy to do. And it just further validates the fact of it's like, dang, Suns, you guys should have went for Luke. We don't care that you had what's his name? We don't care that you had D Book at the time and all these other guys. You should or I think they had Chris Paul at the time too. Yeah, it doesn't matter that you had all those guys. You should have got Luka. And it's like looking back on it, it's kind of crazy. He gave up on his team every the year after they made the finals. I wouldn't trust him. No, don't get it twisted. I have no trust in him. Trust. I trust that he will breathe oxygen. I trust that he will wear the jersey. I trust that he will show up to the games, and I trust that he will do the jump ball at the start of every game. That's the only thing I trust. The performance inside of those four lines, well, he's gonna have to show me because I'm not a believer. I haven't been a DeAndre Ayton believer in a long time. There's some guys that I will hold out hope for, but people where your effort is the reason why we look down on you, I don't have any sympathy for him. That's just not me. Yeah, that's a good reason. And even at Arizona, he looked better. The effort was better in college. How is the effort better in college than it is when you actually finally get the opportunity to get paid millions of dollars? Because at the time, correct me if I'm wrong, I don't even think we had NIL popping then. Because when was he in college? Let me see something. DeAndre Ayton. Surely he's 26. When was he drafted? 2018. Okay, so yeah, no, we didn't even have we didn't even have NIL then. So if he was sitting there moving like that, nah. But here's like I said, this is the last time he's gonna have a fresh start and the opportunity that front office says, you know what, you could be good. We think you could be good. Show us. If he can't show it here, Doors is gone. Didn't want to pay him a max contract. Yeah. And it's rough because like if people can trace it back and say, oh, it was because they didn't max him out, then in theory, when you go to another team, you should prove why they should want to give you the max. But if your effort is non-existent there too, then of course they're not going to want to give you the max. Then they're not saying, dang, the other team was wrong for not giving him the max. They say, we understand why they didn't give him the max. And that's the worst possible situation to be in. I mean, granted, they still make a lot more millions than their predecessors just for being mid. But, definitely should have been better. Half expecting to be cut by the trade deadline would be crazy. What if now remember what you call them? The Suns are loaded with centers. I think they have 5 on roster right now, including Mark Williams. They had Nick Richards, and they traded for Mark Williams and somebody else. And I want to say they drafted their highest pick this year was also a center, I'm pretty sure. I saw a depth chart that had Dylan Brooks running the 4. I said, yo, y'all are sick. Y'all are sick people. And they had Nick Richards at the 5. Like, yo, that's crazy. If they traded back to Phoenix, I would laugh so hard. I would literally be dying. Send him right back there with D Book. I would have D Book might cry. D Book might. I'm not the biggest lover of D Book. I've come to appreciate his game a lot more over the past 2 years, but I do genuinely feel bad for him at this point. I can't even lie to you. I would. It's not a lifestyle that I would want to enjoy. Yeah, no. But yeah, I've covered all my bases today for you guys, gentlemen. It's been a pleasure. And as I always say, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you're on the globe watching. Oh, you said D-Book can't complain. He is. Oh, I forgot. He did sign that. It was a 2 year deal, right? It's like 2 years. Crazy, crazy money, by the way. Yeah, yeah. That's crazy. I did forget about that. I take back what I said. No, he'll be fine. But yeah, good morning, good evening, and good night, no matter where you are on the globe watching. Thanks for tuning in, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.